Hey everybody, Kyle here with Game Time. Welcome to another system overview. I like to do these for some consoles that may be a little more uncommon or not as well heard of as a lot more of the popular ones. And today's example is the Atari 7800 Pro system. This was the third console actually from Atari. Came out in '86, although it was made and ready to release back in 1984, but we'll talk more about that in just a moment. But I thought we'd kind of take a look, tour around the system, and to look at the controller and whatnot, what the games look like, and play some games, as well as talk about a little bit about the brief history of the Atari 7800, and we'll do so next on Game Time. Alright, welcome back. Well, this fine system is the Atari 7800 Pro system. Like I said, it was released in 1986, despite it being ready to go by 1984. But at the time, Atari and their president slash CEO owner at the time was a lot more focused on sort of the computers that Atari was doing, like the Atari 400, 800 type models, and competing with such other computers at the time, like, well, you know, the ColecoVision and some of the early Apple computers, I believe. So they never quite released this on time. Instead, when NES came out, Nintendo NES came out just a year prior, Atari's like, oh crap, we better, this is a great system, we better release our mighty 7800 to compete with it. And for the most part, it is a great system, but it did kind of suffer from a few things. While Nintendo had such great games like Zelda and Mario, Metroid, Final Fantasy, Castlevania, etc., etc., the Atari did have a few of its own great exclusive games, but, you know, we were dealt with mostly dealing more with another version of Ms Pac-Man and Pole Position and Galaga and games kind of like that, you know, kind of games that at the time they were playing a lot of several years ago in the arcade, and these were just kind of more modern, nicer looking versions of the same old games that kind of been going on. The games themselves looked very nice, but it was the sound quality. They used the same sound chip as the 2600, so it made the game audio very, very outdated, so to speak. Speaking of the Atari 2600, those games actually work in the 7800. It was, I don't know if it was the very first backwards compatible game, but you can definitely play Atari 2600 games on here. And that was kind of a nice one advantage on this. It did give it a much huge game library right from the get-go. The controllers themselves, you can see, are kind of a very weird controller because you get your two buttons there and you get the stick, which, you know, the thumbstick or joystick at the time, I guess, works pretty well, but it's kind of a little more sticky, and I don't know, it wasn't, I don't think it was a great design controller. Here you can see the adapter for it and everything. Let's take a tour around the system itself. Unlike the previous Ataris, this one actually did come with a pause button right there on the system itself. So if you wanted to pause the game, you just have to get up and just kind of press it. We also get the select and reselect buttons on the side. There's where the cartridge itself goes. You can see a little scuffed up there. It's a little old. But there's the bottom, or I should say one of the sides there, where the controllers will plug into. And you notice the 6-pin controller, that's exactly what the 2600 used. Again, sort of some dated technology, but you could actually get an Atari 2600 joystick, and it has the same 6-plug outlet, and you can actually insert that into there and use your old Atari joysticks on this 7800 model. Kind of like using PS1 controllers and memory cards on the good old PS2. On the back of it, lighting is kind of weird. There we go. We see this is the cord to go to the TV. It's currently stuck in there. I don't really want to get it out. I'll have to work on that a little bit. There's the little channel switch, channel 3, channel 4, which you prefer it on. There's where the the wall adapter plugs into there. On the bottom, not a lot, just some notifications here. This is kind of a fun little thing that you can see here. This is kind of where a cord could wrap around. So you can keep your cord tucked nice and safe underneath the system. Expansion interface slot right there. Sadly, since the Atari 7800 was never very popular at all, it never used that. There was never anything made for that because it was very short-lived compared to its competitors like the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I think to some extent the Sega Master System. Master System we did a previous system overview on as well, so you can check out our channel for that particular video. Nothing on the other side though, and I forgot to mention the switches there. Sort of like on the 2600 you could have your difficulty switches, you know, novice, expert. So those are what those are kind of used for, as well as various selections on different games here on the 7800. So boxes for the 7800. You might have noticed Ms Pac-Man. That's an actual boxed copy there. Not in great condition, but still pretty fun. And lastly, what we'll take a look at are the games themselves. Pretty much look like your standard 2600 game. Nothing too spectacular there. In fact, when we compare it to an Atari 2600 game, there's Pitfall for an example. You can see they are pretty much side-by-side comparison, the same thing. 7800 has these shiny silver labels to help differentiate, but they're all kind of black and white, and honestly not as appealing as some of the colorful ones here in the 2600. Same thing with the side there. So pretty much the same thing. See, they just go in there like Atari did, front facing, push it down, and there you go, you're ready to play. And backwards compatibility also means our 2600 game can go in there like so, and there we go, that's ready to play. So yeah, that's the 7800, came out in '86, but unfortunately just did not do well for Atari. They only released one other console after this called the Atari Jaguar in the early 90s, and we'll save that for a future episode of Game Time. We'll be taking a look at that Atari console on a future episode. So let's say we play, put in a couple games and see how they look on the 7800. Alright, here we go. There's the Atari 7800 load-up screen, and here we go with Ms Pac-Man. We might as well start off with this one. This is a fun little thing too, because even not from the system itself, but from the actual joystick, I can kind of change my settings. Like here we go, one player, Strawberry can choose what stage you want to start on, up and down. We'll let you choose one or two players there. So we'll start one player, just me, and we'll start on the cherry stage. I think below that is a teddy bear, sort of a very easy warm-up stage, but we'll dive into the cherries. The games actually do look kind of good. However, we are playing these on a sort of a widescreen, high-def TV, so they are going to look very blown up, kind of like some of these older games do. So don't judge the game based on the picture quality from this video for sure. There's that sound again. You can see it was kind of competing at the time with the NES, and you know, which would you rather play? You know, Mario Brothers, Zelda, Metroid, or you know, another version of Ms Pac-Man. But this one does run very quick. Not that there was anything wrong with the 2600 version. That was actually a very good arcade port. The game's very fast-paced. Sounds pretty darn good. You can see a very fast-paced moving game there. This dying sound effect sounds pretty good. Let's see if we can at least clear this maze, and we'll jump on to another game for the 7800. I'm going to get those 4 ghosts. I don't think we'll get them all. Nah. Still good though, we're not going for any high scores. I'm only playing this game for a moment. The joystick on some games feels pretty nice versus some other games. Other games are kind of, oh man, it's such a pain in the butt to play some of those games using this weird 7800 joystick. But for a lot of the arcade games like this and something like Galaga and whatnot, It feels pretty nice because the joystick is, like I said, maybe a little bit stickier, but still pretty responsive. You're not throwing the stick all over the place. It's kind of very responsive. I'm going up and doing a lot of these moves with very little hassle, so controls very well. And like I say, you can use this normal 2600 joysticks on these as well, or third-party ones. I have a quick shot joystick I highly recommend. Alright, this is a neat feature too. Right here on the console, we can pause it. So that's pretty nice. Here's the quick shot joystick I was telling you about. Obviously you can't see it in the dark, but it's a very nice one. You can kind of grip it and a button right there on top. So highly recommended for a lot of these great old classic arcade games as well on the Atari 2600, or it works on the 7800 just as well. Alrighty, we're in the second video here. We're going to do a game called Choplifter. As you can see, 1987 there for Atari, made in 82. This was one, I chose this one on purpose because if you remember Sega Master System overview we did in our last few videos, you can definitely take a look at all the other videos on this channel. For that particular one, we also played that version of Choplifter. So I thought I'd play this one as well, kind of show off the similarities or differences between how each game looks and plays. On this one, the joystick for the old 7800 joystick works very well, actually. One of the few games that it does. One of the kind of move left-right, it moves very nicely. The left button is our button we can use to shoot, and our right one is what we use to rotate, so we can shoot that way. So it's kind of a little bit of a pain because you can't hold it down. You pretty much have to hit it each time you want to rotate. But that's kind of how that works. So we'll push here on left to go left. Oh, I also like the little Atari logo trees or rocks or whatever they are. Here we're being shot at by those tanks. Purpose of this game, we got to land somewhere safe here. That's right away. They're giving me kind of a bit of a tanks galore. Whoa, crap. Land quick enough so we can, crap. We gotta rescue all the people trapped in those buildings while not being shot down by those tanks. Here they are, catching up. It's quite a few. Great cargo here. Hope I don't get shot down. Looks like I got 12 of the pedestrians there. And we gotta land in the circle. Now this is where the joystick gets a little weird. Here they're coming out one by one. We're going to get a nice bonus for this. Alright, we got 12 points. Looks like there's 4 more to be rescued somewhere. The building's on fire, so there's another one down here. There it is. Oh, that came out of nowhere, actually, that plane. Mostly meant to shoot missiles and fire us down, but that one just rammed right into us. So I can see, actually not a bad looking game for that Atari, and if you listen to the sound effects, really not a lot to hear other than the chopper blade. Firing of the tanks. Sorry guys, I got it. I'll be back for you. Oh, plane right behind us here. This is going to be kind of tricky to... I can't... Oh, do you see that skill there? A few more in there. But yes, Choplifter on the 7800 actually plays and works very, very well. I know they made a lot of versions of this game. I think there's a modern high-def version out, definitely on the PSN for sure, because I've seen it. Perhaps Xbox Live as well. Let's just finish up this level. No problem, sir. No problem. Alright, so there we go. That's Choplifter and how that kind of looks and plays on the 7800. Let's do one more game after this. Alright, that's a very colorful load screen there. Keeping with semi-familiar games I think a lot of people are familiar with for this review, I definitely do have a few great hidden gems to share for the 7800 on a future episode. But I thought we'd kind of stick to the old familiars. This is Centipede, and we'll kind of do Novice, Standard, Advanced, Expert. We'll just stick with Standard. We're only going to play this for a moment or two anyway, so it doesn't matter. I thought we'd kind of show off how it plays out on the 7800. This one's a little bit more tighter controls. It's not quite as loose. Like I'm really flipping the joystick back and forth very quickly, and it's a little sluggish. This is a game that definitely, and now the joystick's becoming a little bit more comfortable and kind of holding it probably a lot more tightly than the controller needs to be held. But it's because this is a quick, fast-paced moving game. I would definitely recommend either the quick shot controller or more of a Atari 2600 type of joystick for this particular game. Sound effects, if I'll shut up here just for a second, pretty much kind of like the very arcade similar. Very pleased with the sound effects in this game. Visuals pretty close to the arcade as well, to some extent. Definitely a major step up from the 2600 version. Oh, that spider. Got him. Very fast-paced, very difficult game. I couldn't even imagine playing this on an expert mode. Not that it's overly hard, but it's very tedious. But yeah, this is how Centipede looks and runs and sounds and plays on the old 7800. So hope everyone enjoyed kind of this console overview. I'm going to pause it there. That's a very nice feature, actually. Hope everyone enjoyed the console overview. Definitely leave a comment on. Atari did 5 consoles total, including kind of their handheld system, the Atari Lynx. We also did a previous system overview of that. So definitely check out a whole list of our videos. We do a playlist here on this channel. System Overviews has its own playlist. Atari has its own playlist, as well as stuff like Xbox, ColecoVision, Nintendo, etc. So kind of organized that way. But definitely leave a comment on your favorite Atari system, as well as any 7800 games that you would recommend. I only have, I think, just 12 in the collection right now, so definitely not very many. Really would like to double that in the next upcoming months here, to kind of have a few more classic 7800 games to play. As always, thanks for watching the channel. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing if you haven't done so already. Although it doesn't matter, I don't do it for the subscribers. It's all for fun. It's all for just putting these types of videos on YouTube, which is what I enjoy more than anything. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Game Time. Stay classic.